A long time ago, in Scotland, there were two narrow gauge railways. One of them is still used today, that being the Skarloey Railway. The other is the Mid-Scottish Railway that recently went bankrupt and closed around the 1960s. However, both railway companies had one thing in common, something that they both shared, and that being the Scottish Highlands Ironworks, a place where all narrow gauge engines and rolling stock come to meet their end. Every engine that goes near the smelters shivers in horror because the smoke coming out from the chimney could have been remains of an engine that he once knew. Only two engines didn't mind this work effort: Burke and Hare. The pair were originally cabless Hudson and Hunslet diesel shunters, and they were the prototypes of their class, being built in 1939 for the smelters. But Burke got a rebuild in 1945 to gain a cab. They never got washdowns or repaints, or even maintenance. Their paint job was peeling, and scratches were all around them. They loved their job, and they loved putting engines to nothing but pieces of scrap. They revel in the opportunity of any engine that gets scrapped, not missing the chance to taunt them. "You'll be next," Burke would often say to them. "There's a pile of slag with your name on it." While Burke was up front with the taunting, Hare was much more subtle. He would sneak around the ironworks and blew his horn of any engine nearby to scare them. The pair loved their life in the smelters. No one would stand up to them. Until Juke did. Juke was an engine from the Mid-Scottish Railway who was actually sent to the smelters, but he was saved, and he now lives on Skarloey Railway. He had to take a train up to the smelters himself. He didn't like it one bit, not because of the smelters, but because of Burke and Hare. He went in and was about to leave when Burke and Hare came up to him. "Oh, look what it is, Burke," said Hare. It isn't old Juke." "Huh," said Burke. "Finally accepted your fate. Come here." Juke said nothing. He just gave them a cold look, and then said to them, "You two really need to cut it out," said Juke. "Or what?" said Hare. "You gotta give us a little bump?" His dark eyes glue in the smelting shed. We've been through worse than that, ain't we, Burke?" "Sure we have," said Burke. "We survived the fire that happened here when those steam engines escaped here." Your former colleague didn't," said Juke. Then Burke and Hare remembered an old colleague of theirs, a diesel named Knox, who was actually the first diesel to arrive, but he was built by the smelters workmen themselves. Knox wasn't a very successful design, and after Knox damaged himself when the steam engines escaped, Knox was simply scrapped. Burke just scoffed. "Pah! Knox was weak. We were strong. It's simple, Grandpuff." "Don't call me that," said Juke. "Only my loved ones and friends call me that. You two are far from it." "Oh, don't you like that, Grandpuff?" said Hare. "Sorry, Grandpuff." Juke wheezed steam at the two diesels and said sternly to them, "You two are not invincible." "Sure we are." Hare's eyes swirled like a carousel. "We manage many things." His accent made such an innocent suggestion seem outright terrifying. "He only speaks the truth," Burke butted in before continuing. "Me and my brother Hare will continue work here for decades more. This wonderful ironworks promised to keep us around until something better comes along, which we know will never happen. Juke looked at the two diesels. You two are not invincible. You two really think you're the best around, don't you? We don't think it, we know it! Burke's grin was growing, but it wasn't a cheerful grin. It was more menacing. Juke had finally had enough. Okay then, I'll leave, he said, but I'll say one more thing to the both of you. Time keeps ticking. It doesn't wait for anyone. And with that, Juke puffed away into the night. He better stay away from me if he knows what's good for him, said Hare. Years went by, and the years 1966 to 1986 were quite eventful for Burke and Hare. Firstly, the Mid-Scottish Brewery went bankrupt, and some of the diesels who didn't sell were sent to the smelters. They begged and pleaded their lives, but Burke and Hare just scrapped them anyways. Even members of their own class weren't safe. Anyways, Burke and Hare began to notice some differences around the smelters. Firstly, their old sheds were knocked down in favor of a big new one. While they were grateful for extra space, it wasn't really necessary because of their size. Then, the scrapping claw was replaced with a brand new model. And third, the fuel pump was replaced with a brand new model. The pair were very content with this. One evening, Burke and Hare brought an old carriage in for dismantling. As they watched the claws crushing the coach, Burke talked to his brother. Hare? Burke asked. Yes, Burke, Hare replied while he was looking at the coach being crushed. Doesn't it strike you as... He paused. Odd that our manager is suddenly overhauling everything? Not really. Why? He replied, concerned. Well, I just keep thinking, said Burke. If he replaces the claw and the sheds and even the fuel pump, what if he replaces us? Hare looked at his brother. Don't be stupid, Burke. He said he'll never do that to us. He said he'll only do it if he found something better than us. Burke finished the sentence. The two diesels grown concerned. We'll be scrapped. Hare looked at his brother. For the first time, he seemed rather scared. He tried to comfort Burke. Don't be stupid, Burke. I won't let that happen to you. We will get a choice, Burke said. We'll be shoved into the smelting pit. No, we won't, Hare replied back, making Burke jump a little. Burke looked away. Fine, let's just go to sleep. We have a busy day tomorrow. Burke and Hare left the smelting shed, and then they went to their shed. Didn't speak to each other for the rest of the night. The next morning, their manager ordered them to wake them up. Burke, Hare, listen up, he said. It was very odd. Their manager never told them to wake up before, this stern, unless it was something important. I got some news. Don't keep us in suspense, sir, Hare sarcastically remarked. Well, I struck a deal with a company. Burke's eyes widened. Hare's went narrow. Okay, sir. Elaborate on deal. Well, I just made a deal with a company called Smelters, he said. You two have been efficient for me and my father for the longest time, but I think it's time to part ways. The two diesels stared at him, horrified. No, you can't, Burke whimpered. It was lovely to work with you, but... Found more engines who are more efficient, said the manager. You two have been good for me and my father, I will admit, but it's time to say goodbye. I'll try to see you both before, you know. And with a slight frown, the manager walked away, and he was soon gone. Burke looked terrified. What do we... he began to cough. But Hare hushed him. "Shh! We'll get out of here, Burke." "How?" said Burke. We lived here all our lives. Manager would know if we just sneaked away." "We'll wait until tonight. Until the new shunters arrive. If they begin doing their work, we'll keep on the run." But would they scrap us at first?" "Oh yes." "Very well, we'll sneak away before they arrive." "That's a good idea, Hare," said Burke. Then the two diesels looked at the smelting chimney, still smoking. Burke and Hare went over their plan to escape. It was foolproof. They didn't know where they would go, but anywhere is better than in the smelters. Heck, they might as well have to leave Scotland if they could. Soon, it was time to set the plan into action. Burke and Hare looked around the ironworks for one final time, just for the memories. While they would wanted a break, this is not how it should have happened. But what is done, and it was time to leave. The two diesels began heading away from the smelters as fast as they could. Hare behind, Burke in front. It was going well, until they heard a horn. "What's that?" said Hare, quite startled. "I don't know," said Burke. "Oof!" Then the two diesels bump into a big yellow diesel. The diesel had glasses and a beard. "So you're the diesels me and my brother were here to replace," the diesel replied. Wait, said Hare. "Burke? Hare, what are you doing?" said Burke. "I'm sorry, Burke," said Hare, "but every diesel for himself." "Take him!" Hare bumped into Burke, and Burke went flying in front of the diesel. The diesel began pushing Burke back to the ironworks, while Hare made a run for it. "Hare, you backstabber!" said Burke. Hare switched tracks and continued down the line, faster and faster. He didn't stop until he saw another yellow diesel in front of him. The diesel had a scruffy mustache and a bit of stubble on his chin. Hare was terrified. You must be..." The diesel grew a heartless grin, shaking Hare to his core. "You got a nice pile of slag with your name on it, Grandpa," said the diesel. Hare tried to back away, but the diesel was faster and quicker. He began to shove Hare back to the ironworks for one final time. Burke and Hare were locked in the smelting shed together until it was time to finally melt them down. While they thought they were better than any other narrow gauge engine in the United Kingdom, they were the very opposite. Weak, pathetic, and vulnerable. Yes, everyone has their prime, but like Juke told them all those years ago, time keeps ticking, and it doesn't wait for anyone.